deve ter sido a mais relutantemente aceite de todas as colónias britânicas. Conquistada à força em 1841 pelo jovem e ambicioso capitão Charles Elliot, que operava sob o comando de Sir Humphrey Senhouse, almirante da esquadra britânica, Hong Kong era sítio que ninguém queria. Nem o próprio Sir Humphrey, que às portas da morte se recusou a ser sepultado em Hong Kong.
A fundação de Hong Kong é resultado da Guerra do Ópio vencida pelos ingleses. E este mausoléu que está aqui é do capitão Sir Humphrey Fleming Senhouse, que era o comandante da esquadra britânica que atacou Cantão e tomou Cantão. E então ele contraiu febre no ataque às muralhas de Cantão e foi com o seu navio Blenheim para Hong Kong, já moribundo. E quando chegou a Hong Kong, ele viu um rochedo árido e deserto e disse: não quero ser sepultado aqui, sepultem-me em Macau.
O próprio primeiro-ministro, Lord Palmerston, quando a nova colónia lhe foi oferecida pelo jovem e voluntarioso capitão Elliot, respondeu assim:
A barren rock with nary a house upon it. It will never be a mart for trade.
Aliás, os primeiros anos de Hong Kong foram de intenso sofrimento para os primeiros que decidiram povoar a nova colónia britânica.
There was an immediate rush, as I can understand it, after the first ghastly year, which was nothing but fires and the bazaar being burned down and terrible typhoons and all sorts of fearful, and the Hong Kong fever, terrible disease. Once things settled, which was about 1842, then there was quite a rush of Macau people going over. But, as I understand it, they did not include, at that time, the well-to-do families.
Nem as famílias macaenses quiseram mudar-se para Hong Kong, nem mesmo aqueles que tinham sido os que mais pugnaram pela ocupação do novo território da China, entre eles William Jardines. Esta era a antiga sede da toda-poderosa firma do ópio Jardines and Madsen. O edifício ainda está aqui, parte dele conservado. William Jardines era o homem que esteve na base da fundação de Hong Kong. No entanto, e tal como o homem que comandou a ocupação de Hong Kong, não quis ser sepultado do outro lado do Rio das Pérolas, não. Preferiu viver, quanto pôde, aqui em Macau, até se retirar para a sua Escócia natal, onde morreu e ficou sepultado. Pode dizer-se que, no princípio, em Hong Kong era a Jardines and Madsen, a maior firma de traficantes de ópio da China. Em torno da Jardines é que tudo se foi formando no recém-conquistado território britânico. Outras firmas do mesmo ramo, casas comerciais, algumas fábricas e os bancos. Não admira, portanto, que a Jardines fosse o núcleo e o expoente simbólico da colónia até praticamente à transição de Hong Kong para a soberania chinesa em 1997. A Casa dos Mil Buracos ainda hoje se eleva em Central, pujante. Mas agora é apenas uma dentre muitas companhias que operam neste gigante da alta finança internacional. Mas se a Jardines esteve na base da fundação de Hong Kong, foram os portugueses de Macau que forneceram o know-how necessário para a colónia arrancar. A história da família Osório esclarece o papel luso no auxílio aos colonizadores britânicos.
My origins are Portuguese. I'm very conscious of my Portuguese ancestry. I believe I've got a Portuguese surname. I don't have a Portuguese first name, but everyone has to have origins and a sense of identity, and if I'm asked, I will say that I am of Portuguese extraction or Portuguese origin. And as you know, the Portuguese in Macau moved from Macau to Hong Kong from about 1842 onwards, when the British developed Hong Kong and Macau assumed less significance because it was not a deep water port. My family came to Hong Kong gradually from about 1840 onwards as Hong Kong developed into the great city-state that it is today. And they started as, there are two branches to my family, and on one side of the family they were legislators and lawyers, and on the other side of the family they were doctors and merchants. And sadly, I am the only representative of the family in Hong Kong today. All the rest have emigrated to various parts of the world.
Mas outros setores beneficiaram também do auxílio português, nomeadamente na área da imprensa.
I was born in Shanghai. I'm of Portuguese parentage. I identify myself as a Maquienza, and I'm very proud to be what I am. When I was growing up in Shanghai, my father came to Shanghai from Macau when he was a young boy of 9 or 10. And he went to Shanghai and married a Maquienza lady, and I was born in Shanghai with two other brothers. As I was growing up, I realized that you have only one life to live, and therefore you must make a success of this life. I did not want to join the bank, as most of our Portuguese joined the Hong Kong bank or the chartered bank or whatever it is. I said, I must join a creative profession, and I wanted to become a journalist. I became a reporter in the Shanghai Times and later on in the China Press. They had 4 English language newspapers in Shanghai at that time: the China Press, the North China Daily News, the Evening Post Mercury, and the Shanghai Times. So I worked very hard in Shanghai and at my profession, slowly until I became a better reporter in Shanghai, which had a large Portuguese community of at least 10,000 Maquienses in Shanghai at that time.
Entre os vários setores de atividade que congregavam macaenses, contava-se em lugar proeminente o Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank.
I can tell you a lot about the Portuguese in Hong Kong Bank because in the old days the Hong Kong Bank staff were the Portuguese boys and the Chinese boys. The Chinese were controlled by the comprador in those days, and the Portuguese were controlled by the chief clerk. His name is Mr. Francisco Soares. He is the chief clerk in Hong Kong, and he was responsible for engaging the Portuguese boys who joined the bank, who wanted to join the bank. I came out of school and into the bank at the age of little under 16. Yes, we are now 38 members in the Hong Kong Bank. We were about 1,000 strong in early 50s. 1950 onwards, were about 1,000 staff in Hong Kong Bank. But then most of them immigrated after the first riots in 1957. Most of them went to America, and some to Canada, and some to Australia.
The Portuguese community was very important in Hong Kong from 1842 right up to the Second World War, and the Portuguese community was probably the second most influential non-Chinese community in Hong Kong up to the Second World War. As a result of the Second World War, the Portuguese community started to emigrate to places such as Brazil, America, Canada, England, and Australia. And the Portuguese community lost a lot of influence in Hong Kong through the 1950s, 1960s, and even the 1970s. However, I've noticed that more and more Portuguese the younger Portuguese have been coming back to Hong Kong to find their roots, and we are now beginning to re-establish our influence in Hong Kong. I think if you look particularly at the legal profession, you will find that the Portuguese have a very, very strong influence in that profession, and that's been transcribed obviously to the judiciary. We now have 2 judges who are of Portuguese extraction in the judiciary, and I believe that you will find that the Portuguese influence in Hong Kong will begin to re-establish itself in the future.
O Hong Kong and Shanghai Bank aqui continua a erguer-se pujante e financeiramente mais sólido do que nunca. Os funcionários portugueses que aqui trabalhavam é que se contam pelos dedos. O mesmo acontece com o clube lusitano, que se confronta com a lenta sangria de associados. O mesmo se passa também relativamente à outrora florescente comunidade portuguesa. Em geral, se vai diluindo na cinização inexorável do território ou partindo para a diáspora. A comunidade luso-descendente de Hong Kong é cada vez mais apenas uma nacionalidade inscrita num passaporte raro. É o que são cada vez menos os que mantêm as tradições e menos ainda os que conhecem a língua-mãe.